Previously on The Business.
It is The Business, brought to you by F&B Business Banking. Let's turn our attention now to our second guest, who we've kept waiting for just a few minutes. John Riddler is the Media and Public Relations Manager for Thompsons Tours. First of all, John, good morning and welcome to the show.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
It's a great opportunity for us to chat more about what is going on in your business. You're from Thompsons Tours, part of the Cullinan Group. Let's start with the basics. Tell us a bit about Thompsons Tours. What do you do? Where do you fit into the market?
Okay. We the largest wholesale operator in the country, and by that I mean that in fact you can go to any travel agency in a shopping mall and you'll find our brochures on the shelf, and you'll find them describing the destination you're interested in, and then you can speak to one of the consultants and they will more than likely book with us. So effectively we really are everywhere in the country, and simply go into your nearest Desata agency and they will probably direct you to one of the big operators and hopefully to Thompson's Holidays, as we now call ourselves.
Okay.
What about people like me who go online and want to go straight
we have
to your
to convert
website?
you. Yeah. In fact, I go on the internet a lot myself. So in fact, we kindred spirits on that score. However, some surveys have been done on this subject, and especially related to travel. You know, and that is that people can spend anywhere between 2 to 5 hours just investigating one particular aspect of their holiday.
I'm one of them.
Okay.
When I plan an overseas trip, it
Yeah.
takes me it's easily 40 to 50 hours of research to
Yes.
plan the whole trip.
So it's time consuming,
is, of
but
course.
by the same token, clearly you enjoy it, and I enjoy it because in fact you find things about the destination or the specific hotel that you're going to or had in mind, and it might turn you on or might turn you off, and you might even look for a second opinion on it. And TripAdvisor would also be one of the areas you would go to. But just back to the search, is if you're in a hurry for something, let's say a fairly short notice, and you just don't have that time, by talking to your local travel agent or a travel agent, you can just speak to them online or give them a call. They would give you a breakdown, and they would also tell you or ask you the pertinent questions. Where do you want to be? Do you want to be in the city centre? Do you need to be near theatres? Do you need to be at a particular conference centre, for instance? So they could narrow down your search for you quite quickly as well. And also they would give you some feelings of what they've experienced if they've been to that particular city or that destination. And I'll give you an example. Thailand is on the top of most people's lists. It's a great destination. It's very exotic. It's lots of fun. But you can land up on, let's say, Patong Beach, which is fairly well known, and be in what for you proves to be a hellhole, because the band next door is playing till 4, 5 in the morning, and then everybody leaves the disco. So you've had absolutely no sleep. But equally, if you are a jolla and you want to be where the band is giving a stick, then that is the hotel for you. So we even describe hotels here at the quiet end of Patong Beach. So you get my drift. We try to sift out a lot of the weeds before you actually start making your decision.
I hate to disagree with you, but I have to, because I have to say that if people have been there already and they've had those similar bad experiences, they'll say it. They'll say it on a site like TripAdvisor.
That they do. I've also found, Ian, that sometimes I've gone into TripAdvisor and I thought, hang on, I was at that hotel not 6 months ago, and this doesn't sound like the same hotel. And I almost sense that there's been a bit of a squabble in the bedroom before the guy wrote this. There's sort of a minor thing. It might be something really, really minor. And I think, hang on, this person's either in a bad mood, or alternatively, they have chosen the wrong hotel. They've actually made the mistake up front, and they're now taking it out in the hotel. But they're describing something that you would expect at a 4-star hotel, and they're actually staying in a 3 or less star hotel. And I think, hang on, this is not fair what you're doing here. You're dissing the hotel, and it doesn't deserve that, because you've paid what they're offering.
John, from the consumer's perspective, is it more expensive for them to go to the travel agent and get that face-to-face advice and service, as opposed to going directly online to your website and making a booking?
On airfares, there are no commissions payable to agents. So when you enter an agency, they will immediately tell you what the fee will be for the work that you expect from them. So it might be a ticket to multiple stops in Europe. It might just be to a single destination, Singapore or Bangkok or wherever. So they have to tell you that in advance, and you have to agree to that. Okay, and they will charge you a fee over and above the cost of the air ticket. When it comes to buying a package from ourselves, we cover a fee for the agent in that. So there would be no additional.
So it
fee on
doesn't
that.
really matter for a
Doesn't make any
Thompsons whether I go. Okay, and do you think that's made a difference in terms of your business model? The fact that you really are catering for what a person's preference is, and there's no real cost implication on whether they go face to face or they go online.
I think it has worked very well, and in fact. In our brochures as well, just going back to the star rating thing, we've actually, because Ian mentioned, being in a 4-star hotel in a big city in Europe and thinking, hang on, this is a dump. Where did they get these
We've
4
all had
stars
those
from?
experiences.
Oh, yeah.
And the bedroom's so small, you've got to sort of upend the bed to get to the bathroom.
I'm not a small guy.
No, that's true. But even I find it a problem. But what we've done is in our brochures, we list what we would like to think you're going to find when you get to that hotel. So we describe the hotels as quality plus. So quality would be a 2-star or 3-star, quality plus. Luxury would be 5-star. Luxury is a word that gets thrown around. I mean, every hotel's got some luxury
jargon. It's
aspect.
become industry speak jargon.
Yes, absolutely. And then if you're going to something that's really exquisite, we call it ultimate luxury, and if and that is really 5-star plus. So, and we give you a description of what you can expect at those hotels. And these are modified for each country or each zone. So it gives you quite a good idea of what you can expect at the hotel, and also how you can equate it to what you used to back here in South Africa.
And how do you put together these packages and the various tours? I mean, there's the staple diet kind of tour where it doesn't matter who the operator is, whether it's Thompsons, whether it's somebody else, we know that it'll be on their menu, so to speak. How do you look out for the new things, the new trends? How do you spot those?
Well, I'm often asked about what is the most exotic holiday or the most unusual holiday. Well, of course, you can go trekking in Nepal, but there isn't exactly a queue forming at most travel agencies' front doors to go trekking in Nepal. So it might sound fantastic, but in fact, there's a very, very small percentage of the population who wants to do that sort of thing. And it's a bit like, jumping out of an airplane. It sounds great, but, I've never managed to get around to doing it because I back out at the last minute. What we do is we sell experiences. So we try and get the person sitting in front of us to tell us what they want to do. And we would say, why not go to Bangkok, just to stay with Thailand for the moment, go to Bangkok for 3 days. You can do a whole lot of cultural stuff. You can do some great food stuff. There's a heck of a lot of shopping. You can go and see a floating market, which is an experience you'll have never had in your life before, where you can literally shop from the boat you're in. And the boat next to you is selling hats, caps, shirts, sliced pineapple, vegetables if you need vegetables at that moment in time, T-shirts, whatever. We would then recommend that that's enough time in Bangkok, because if you've been to Bangkok, you'd realize there's a limit to how long you can.
I think I can only handle about
2
2.5
days.
to 3 days.
We
in
recommend 2
Bangkok.
days,
Yeah.
and then you've got to get out. And then where do you go? Up to Chiang Mai, into the forests, and do a whole forest experience, and maybe go.
Okay, but that's Bangkok, that's Thailand. It's been on the map for a
Yes.
while. How do you, as Thompsons, though, identify the new opportunities, the new tours? I mean, is there a way that somebody who perhaps is a historian or an archaeologist and believes they can add some value and put together a nice little experience, would they come to a Thompsons and say, look, I've got this thing, it's a 4-day getaway, it's located here, can you help me market it? Does that exist, that opportunity?
It does, and in fact, a good example would be, for instance, going to the Antarctic. Now, that's something you can only do for 3 months of the year, weather-wise. It starts in January, so you have to plan at least a year in advance. And we would have operators in South America who would put us in onto exactly the right ship. Now, I'm not claiming that we've been on every one of those ships, or that I personally haven't been to Antarctica. I'm trying to get there, but we would have access to experts in those countries who would come back to us and answer the questions that you've just asked us. So it is a conduit, and yes, it's not possible to know every single product in the world, but by the same token, they would report back to us and say, we have a new ship, or we have a new experience where you can get off the ship and go in a rubber duck and come right up close to penguins or seals or something like that. And then, of course, just now, 2 weeks ago, there was the largest travel market in the world, in London, World Travel Market, and there we have at least 6 or 8 staff members going up and down just looking for new experiences. And those experiences aren't just in the UK, that is worldwide. So we might find out about something exciting you can do in Russia, or a fantastic trip you could do into the outback in Australia. It could be as diverse as that. And we would come back with those, look and see if there's any real commercial value in it, or whether it's just really a one-off that's not going to really sell. But we can interface with those very easily.
John, tell us about the local industry. Let's turn our attention back to local business and South Africans traveling. I mentioned the word staycationing earlier, and Kriya and Astrid both laughed at me. But the economic situation is no joke, and a lot of people don't have the money to even fly from here to Cape Town. It's an expensive business to get a family of 4 down there, or up to Johannesburg or whatever it might be. Are people still spending money in tourism locally in South Africa, South Africans specifically?
In fact, it's been an interesting couple of years, Ian, and what we've noticed is that progressively people have moved down a notch. So if you were holidaying in the Caribbean, you might now be holidaying in the Maldives, and and you could just keep working it all the way down. But by the same token, hotels and countries as a whole, in fact, have come to the party. And I'll give you a very good example. You can travel to Mauritius, not over Christmas or New Year. Let's try and avoid those dates. But you could, let's say, travel early in December, and it could cost you about the same as it would cost you to travel to Cape Town. Now, I'm not recommending that everybody who would have potentially gone to Cape Town look at going to Mauritius. It might not be the right holiday for you, but there are fantastic bargains to be had. And the same has happened, let's say, within Africa. You can go up to Vic Falls, or you can go down to Chobe, into Mozambique, where they have really worked hard to attract the business of people who were previously traveling further afield. So, in fact, the traveling market is one that continues to travel.
It adapts to the economy.
It adapts. And, in fact, we have seen an increase in local travel. And in fact, our call centre for South Africa has just got busier and busier. So, everybody benefits somewhere along the line.
John, have you, if I'm a B&B, or if I offer a service, perhaps I have a small game farm, and I have a couple of rooms, and I've been graded, and I have a facility. What's the opportunity to approach a company like Thompsons to kind of get my establishment onto your package, your route, and into the sales sort of area of your website? Is that something you talk to local businesses about? How does that work?
We take calls from small businesses all the time. I must be honest, Ian, very small B&Bs and very small hotels, or boutique hotels as they might describe themselves, are difficult to do business with from our point of view, because what you very often find is your phone, and they've got 6 rooms. That's their full complement available.
And you're in the volume business.
Yes. Then you say they'd like to extend by another 2 days, and they've only got 2 rooms available. Yeah. And it's based on volume. And I'm afraid that there is an entry level, and we're kind of looking at establishments with sort of 12 rooms or more to make it viable for both parties. And I must be very honest with you, it's in the good of in the interests of both parties as well. Otherwise, it just doesn't work for the small hotel.
I was looking at an organogram of the holding company Cullinan, and I don't know that people are aware of this, but John, take us back to 1901, because people don't realize the roots of Thompsons.
Yes. Well, Cullinan, as most people probably know, it was a diamond mine north of Pretoria, and it yielded some fantastic jewels. One of the big rocks, of course, is in the crown jewels in London, and it was a very successful mine for many, many years. There were lots of other companies in the group as well. They did refractories and so on, but it was, strictly speaking, a mining group, and that company ceased to actually trade as a mining industry some 30, 40 years ago. And the company still existed just as a shell. And the company was bought and turned around into a leisure company. So, in fact, the history is quite interesting, but the business model now is quite different.
Absolutely, but you're a PR and marketing man, so there must be some wonderful angles to leverage there.
There's some fun ones, and we do get some strange calls as well on the Cullinan level. But in fact, the group itself has pretty diverse products, and you might see a bus passing us here on the highway, or coach rather, and that would be one of our coaches, and it might be branded as Hilton Ross or Ikapa or Springbok Atlas coaches. We don't have any hotels directly in the group, other than our sister company called Red Carnation Hotels. Now they have the Oyster Box, the 12 Apostles, which is well known in Cape Town, and Bushman's Kloof up in the mountains in Cedarburg. Many hotels in London, in Europe, and in America. But it's a very diverse group, which falls, in fact, then in turn under the Travcorp group. So yes, we have offices all around the world. We use those offices to feed us information about those countries. So from Singapore to Tokyo, to Australia, Canada, the US, all over Europe, we have offices, and you can actually tap into those as part of the service that we offer.
I'm a bit, might be a naive question, but is the Thompson Group locally affiliated with Thompson in the UK?
That's a good question. In fact, we're not, and it's not even the same spelling. Ours has got we always say Thompson's with a P.
Took note of that.
Thompson's,
Thompson's,
Thompson's with a P. And it's a totally different group. Funny enough, we from time to time get a complaint through TripAdvisor saying, I booked with Thompson's. It's not even us, you know. This is a hotel in the south of London, of the UK, or in Switzerland or something like that. It wasn't booked through us. So happily, we don't get that too many problems related to the two companies. But yes.
I don't know if you've got any more questions. I've got one final wrap. Astrid?
I have one because it's a question I've been asking for years. Is the travel agent, the human being, travel agent, at risk of being completely disintermediated? Or do you think there'll always be space?
That would have been a better question 2 or 3 years ago, Astrid. And in fact, what's happened is people did initially shun them, and everybody had their brand new little Apple Macs on their desks, and they sat working on them and thought, I'm going to crack this thing. But in fact, the travel agents have reported a huge return of business. And in fact, even very big companies have found that what they try to do on their own costs them a lot more money than getting a travel agent. And I'll give you a very simple example. If you want to go down to Cape Town, you can click onto an airline, and you are now talking to one airline, so you know what they offer. When you're talking to a travel agent, she's got 5 airlines on her screen at once, and she can say to you, if you go on that carrier at 8 in the morning, it's going to cost you at least 1,000 rand less than if you went on that one at 8:30, which was your first choice. But you could come back on a different carrier. You don't even have to go there and back on the same airline. Now, when you're stuck in one website, you are dealing with one airline. Then you've got to get out of it and go into another one. By the time you go back to the original one, the seat's gone.
Yeah.
And so it goes. And so, in fact, you know, it makes sense to talk to somebody who can tell you all the answers very quickly and tell you the best fare that you're going to pay.
Okay, heading into the final question and the Christmas season, as we've mentioned, money is tight. If you haven't booked a holiday yet, where would be your top destination for this December? If you have the absolute pick of your website, where would you recommend somebody should go?
Ian, there are virtually no flights left, with the exception of we managed to get a couple of extra flights to Mauritius, and so that you can still do. We've got seats right through from the beginning of December to early January. Alternatively, lots of accommodation in the country, especially in Cape Town. And we've even got special deals for families who'd like to drive down. We'll give them a night in Bloemfontein on the house if they'd like. If the kids get niggly and you want to stop over, 7 nights down in Cape Town. Back up, you can even have another night in Bloemfontein on the way back if you like. Those are business hotels, they're not busy at that time of the year. So there's plenty to be had. But flights to Europe and, let's say, the Far East, now a problem, I'm afraid.
Yeah, I would imagine everyone's left a little bit late if you haven't booked by now. John, final question, very, very, very final question, because Kriya just brought it up, and I must ask it, is trains. A lot of people traveling on trains?
South African trains are popular, especially the Xhosa Mail. It gets mixed reports. I think they are working hard on getting the train really up to scratch. I've read a couple of reports where it sounded a bit niggly to me. They seem to have a few reservations problems, but by and large, the train, especially Xhosa Mail, gets good reviews. Obviously, if you've got bigger bucks, then the blue train is the way to go, or even Rovos Rail. That's a special experience.
So an interesting stat, they actually fully booked, the Xhosa Mail are fully booked till the end of December, beginning of Jan.
Yeah, it's a great thing. Good for them. I hope it takes off. I love it. John Riddler, the Media and Public Relations Manager for Thompsons Tours. You can find their website at Thompsons, that is THOMPSONS.co.za. Thank you for your time today on the business.
The Business on balls.co.za. Brought to you by FNB Business Banking.